This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
Welcome back to Mental Health and Me. I'm excited you're here with me today, and I'm going to talk about a subject of holidays. And the holiday that's coming up for us right now is Mother's Day. I know everyone's talking about it. We're all thinking about how we're going to celebrate and maybe even stressing about it. If you're curious, Mother's Day has only been around for 120-ish years. The holiday came up in the early 1900s. There was a woman named Anna Jarvis, and after her mother passed away, she, a few years later, kind of got this holiday going as a way to honor the sacrifices that mothers make for their children. A few years after that, Woodrow Wilson turns it into a quote-unquote real holiday. So if you're wondering how we got here, that's how it all started. Now, I don't really know how they celebrated Mother's Day back in the early 1900s, but I'm going to guess it's way different than what we are doing now. And I have found in my 11 years as a therapist and maybe my 38 years on earth that I think Mother's Day is probably the most loaded holiday emotionally. I think there's a tremendous amount of pressure put on that holiday. I think that people have a lot of wounds, either parent wounds or child wounds, or people are dealing with infertility. People are dealing with loss. They're dealing with a desire to be a mother or estranged relationships. And so Mother's Day is extremely volatile and extremely loaded. And so I like to go into that holiday just giving you space for wherever you land. There's really no right or wrong way to celebrate. We're getting bombarded with messages and advertising for how to celebrate it. We know that significantly more money is spent on Mother's Day than Father's Day, which I think is kind of funny. But either way, I want you to just know that as Mother's Day approaches, I want you to celebrate the way that's best for you. And I want you to not feel guilty, however you choose to celebrate that. So for me, I'm in what I'd consider to be a great stage of motherhood. I have 3 young children, and I'm looking forward to Mother's Day. Now, I'm managing expectations because with these 3 young children comes an extremely busy schedule. So I opened my planner yesterday and asked my husband, okay, how are we going to do this? What day are we celebrating Mother's Day? And so I managed my expectations going in, but I also lay out some clear expectations for how I want to celebrate. And I've done this for years, and it's actually gone really well. And one of the things that was really important to me is that I got homemade gifts from my children. And this is a fun thing for me because I forbid my husband to buy some expensive thing off Amazon. He's not allowed to just go buy some big piece of jewelry. I don't want that. I want some homemade item that he helped the kids make, some Pinterest craft, some craft kit, whatever it is. And I get a lot of joy out of that. My kids are little. I feel like this is borrowed time where I get these type gifts, but that's what I want. And so I lay those expectations out, and that's what's important to me. And he really tries to honor that. I get a lot of joy when they see me using that bookmark they made or that potted plant that they painted the pot, and they think that's really exciting. And I'm in a stage of just being really grateful. I also do not allow Mother's Day to be framed as my only day off. I set boundaries there. It's not my only day off. I like to be with my kids on Mother's Day. Some women don't, and that's totally okay. You got to do what works for you. But no, this is not my only day off. I think sometimes Mother's Day gets framed that way. If it's being framed that way in your house, set some boundaries. You deserve more than just one day off a year. And I hope that you get to really think about what you'd like to do and then honor that. You can cut the commercialism out and just make the choices that are best for you. Traditionally, I feel like as a kid, I was bombarded with messages of buy mom jewelry, do this and that. And our family did not have a lot of money growing up. And I remember seeing these ads for all this crap to buy moms, and I felt so guilty that I could not afford that. Now, my mom has never even worn a big fancy jewelry. Even now she doesn't. But as a kid, I can remember feeling inadequate that I could not get my mother this giant thing. So we put this pressure on ourselves. I know I did that from a very young age, and I really don't want to repeat that generational cycle for my children. I just want Mother's Day to be a day that we celebrate, have fun as a family, and I get to be really grateful for what I have, which is, for me, what it's really about. I think the best story I have for Mother's Day is one of these times where I told my husband, here's how it is. I want a homemade gift from the kids. You figure it out. And he does his best. He gets, okay, he takes the 2 kids. I only had 2 at the time. He takes them to Michael's, and one of them's in the cart. And while they're picking out some craft kit, The other kid climbs on the side of the cart. Now, those carts are kind of small, but I don't know exactly what happened, but apparently the cart topples over. And he calls me from Michael's. The people working there run over. They're trying to make him sign paperwork. I guess that he won't sue them. Everybody's crying, and he's there just trying to get a craft kit and get out. Sometimes it works that way, right? It's not always going to look like it does on TV. Sometimes it's a little chaotic, but that's okay, right? Moms deal with this all the time. It is okay that, our stories come with a little insanity. I think that's some reality. Mother's Day for me has changed very much, right? Because I was a child and now I'm an adult. And I think that the big line for me, of course, was when I had my first child, which I would love to say was this magical experience, but it really wasn't. I had my daughter when I was in the last semester of grad school. And as some of you already know, that was the lowest point of my life, the months that followed that. It was not an area of life that I would ever like to return to. But what happened during that time is that I hit my first Mother's Day. Now, keep in mind, I'm trying to deal with grad school. I'm trying to deal with being a new mom. I had a very, very difficult baby. Nothing seemed to make sense. She was colicky and had low weight gain. There were just problems on top of problems. The medical profession was just failing me left and right. I knew things were wrong. No, I couldn't get any clear answers. And so it was what I would definitely label as the most depressing time of my life for sure. It was the first time I'd ever experienced a depression where I physically could not get out of bed. And so while I'm living the dream with motherhood right now with 3 great little kids and everything's fun, that was not always the case. So if you flash back for me, I'm running into my first Mother's Day, and I can very much remember my husband who had no idea what was going on. He doesn't know any more than me. We're just kind of guessing, trying to make it through each day. He got me a card. And this is something that, he did come up with entirely on his own. And I'd say he did a bullseye here. This was just something he came up with. He got this card. It was really cute. And he writes a message to me from our daughter. And I had no connection with her. If you're familiar with postpartum depression, there's often a lack of connection, right? It's we're just missing something. Something is not working the way we naturally would expect it to. There's not this instantaneous love. There's not this instantaneous affection, and there's just something missing. So he gives me this card, and I remember reading it and just sobbing. And in the card, he has it written from my child, and she's thanking me for what I do for her, and she's thanking me for loving her. And he says in this card, I don't have the words right now, but one day I will. And without him even knowing, I think without me even knowing, that really planted a seed of what would later become my book, Dear Mama. And I can remember just that Mother's Day, I was so frazzled. I gave my mom a card that I found months later. She had it hung up in her house. I didn't even sign it. I was so completely frazzled at that time. And, everything was just a blur. But what my husband did for me was something that really helped me in the long term. And I think that was also where something kind of clicked and I realized what was missing. There was just absolutely no connection. There was no way for me to understand what she wanted. There was no way for me to make her happy. I mean, it just was not a good time. Flash forward, I had the idea for this book, Dear Mama, but I still kind of shelved it. And I had a lot of shame and guilt, so I also did not really do much. I didn't know anyone else with a baby as difficult as mine. I just felt really isolated, really alone with that. I lived in a townhouse. I was afraid to open my windows because my child was always crying. I thought someone's going to call the cops. And I kind of was able to see that the connection was missing, but I still didn't know what to do with that. So flash forward, right? I'm plugging along. Years go by, and then we hit this COVID world, right, where any coping mechanism you had is gone. Any goal you had for the year totally disappears. And I decided towards the end of that year, I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to pull out something that I've wanted to do for years, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to get this book published. Now, as a therapist, I often use children's books with adults for many different reasons, but one of them is that not everybody's going to sit and read the book I recommend. I could recommend books all day. But a children's book, there's a lot of applications in that we can use, and it's not going to take a lot of your time to read. And so it was important to me to create a quick and easy resource that a mom struggling could relate to. So before I share more about this book, I'll tell you about some of the feedback I've received. And some of the most powerful things for me were somebody sent me a picture one time of themselves crying, and saying that they were up and had a hard night with their child and that they were able to utilize this book to help them get through these really challenging moments. Another time I went to some event with my husband and a woman just ran up and hugged me and told me how much how much my book helped her. And I didn't even know this lady. She just, I guess, recognized me off LinkedIn. Another time, a mom told me that it was her toddler's favorite book. Something about it, the kid just really connected. And so they would read it together every night because the kid would always go pick that book off the shelf. And I get this feedback, and I really don't know what's ever going to happen with Dear Mama. I get asked, is it going to be a New York Times bestseller? I don't know. But just like Mental Health and Me, I wanted to create a resource that I could have used, a resource that would benefit anybody, that's just attainable to you, the listener, right now. And because of that, I did get this book out at the end of 2020. I think I squeaked it out. I self-published it in December, trial by fire, but I was determined to make something of value happen in 2020. So I'm going to go ahead and read this book to you now. And another thing that was important to me for this book is that each image showed the struggle of motherhood. I realized that every children's book I owned, the mom was happy, regardless of what was happening. So the kid creates a huge mess. You know, I love Little Critter, but the mom's always smiling, regardless of what Little Critter destroys. And I see these things, same like Curious George, right? The parents are always very happy. And I thought, man, where's the pictures that really validate me? That's like, I'm going to lose my mind right now. So these pictures are all really abstract, in my opinion, but they all show the struggle of motherhood. So as I'm about to read this, I want you to pull up the images that come to your mind that are a struggle for you, because it's going to be different for each of us. And hopefully you can integrate these words with those pictures. Dear Mama, I know you're busy, Mama, but Mama, I'm just a little baby and I needed help. Mama, I know you're tired, but I was lonely in here, Mama. I couldn't sleep on my own without you, Mama. Mama, I was really uncomfortable sitting in that stroller. Mama, you are so much softer and warmer. I was hungry, Mama, and I know you are too, but I only know how to call out for you, Mama. I'm tired, Mama, and only your body would do. I know you need a break, Mama, but I want to tell you that it's been tough on me as a little baby, and I only wanted Mama. Mama, I saw you doing something, but I needed to be kissed. No one gives me kisses like Mama. Something scared me, Mama, and I know you are safe, so Mama, I cried out for you. I know you have work to do, Mama, but I needed you. I don't know how to wait for you, Mama. Mama, I know I make it hard on you, but I'm beautiful, Mama, and I only have eyes for you, Mama. I know it's tough, Mama, but you are one strong Mama. You can handle me, Mama. No one knows me like you, Mama. You're my perfect Mama. So in those moments when you feel like you are very alone and you feel like you don't have a connection and you feel like you're doing this thankless work alone, I want you to know that your child will one day have the words. They will be able to thank you for things. They will be able to connect with you. You know, I'm told that I was apparently a pretty challenging baby, right? I didn't sleep for a very long time. You could label me a bad baby, and I'm very close with my mom. There are hard times, and it's okay to say that. It is okay to frame this if you're in having a Mother's Day where you have a difficult child and you're just trying to make it through. It's okay to label it that way and be really honest. It will not be that way forever. I want to just offer some encouragement and support to all mothers this Mother's Day. I hope that you realize that if you have successfully raised a child or are raising a child, you have a lot of strength and resilience. It is not for the faint of heart, right? We're kind of all doing this together. None of us really know. We're just learning as we go. But I want to make sure that you know that this Mother's Day, you can celebrate in the way that fits best for you. Ask yourself what feels right, and then make that decision. And for those of you who are listening right now, I want you to know that there's always space for you if it's hard and if you're feeling alone, Or even if you're just wanting to celebrate and be excited and share those moments too, that's totally fine. Let's uplift mothers and their lives beyond this Mother's Day. And if you're looking for a place to get Dear Mama, it is available on Amazon. I also created a journal with just the photos where moms can write their own Dear Mama messages that they feel that their infant is saying to them. Because it is a lonely time at times, and this is a tool that I hope can make it feel a little less lonely. So thank you for tuning in to Mental Health and Me today, sponsored in part by the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. Until next time.
Live radio, local podcasts, the Frederick Podcast Network at listenfrederick.com.